Good morning, and thanks for much for joining us on After GMS. It is Thursday, December 7th. Like, you guys don't make mistakes. Come on, we all do.
You can have this one. Go ahead.
Listen, I will run with it. It has been an interesting week. Remember, guys, over the weekend we started with degrees like 70-ish, and now we're like overnight temperatures in the 20s and 30s. I mean, it's been a wild ride.
It has, but this is so typical of North Carolina, is it not? I mean, we always see this huge fluctuation, and I think the biggest irony is that it's not even officially winter yet. Right?
Yeah, not at all. You know, we have a few more days to go before we officially start winter, but if you walk outside, you wouldn't know it because it feels like winter to me. We have temperatures right now in the 30s across most of the area, and this is another example of how just a couple of degrees one way or the other just makes such a big difference. Right now we're at 35 in High Point, 34 Winston-Salem, 34 in Greensboro, right at the freezing mark in Wilkesboro. But since we're just above freezing across the Triad, at least for the most part, there may be a couple of neighborhoods at the freezing mark, so don't let your guard down. But if we had widespread temperatures below freezing, we'd have big problems because we'd have what we call freezing fog. So all those little water droplets that are suspended in the air when you have fog would stick to all the surfaces and freeze on contact and would make for some slick travel widespread. But thankfully, again, that's not the issue. We just have a few spots that are below freezing. But again, we could have a patch of black ice here or there, maybe a few spots dealing with a little bit of freezing fog, but it's not a widespread issue. As far as the rest of the day, well, it's going to be kind of a cloudy day. We'll keep the fog around for a while this morning, and then maybe a few peaks of sunshine as we head through the afternoon before the clouds build back in, and we see the chance of a couple of showers as we go through the afternoon. That's what it looks like outside. Not great, right? You see all the fog. It's pretty dense right now, and as I mentioned, it's going to stick around for a while. So just be careful if you're heading out and about. Temperatures this afternoon warm up to the 40s. We'll see that chance of showers as we go through the evening, and then we're dry Friday and Saturday. Maybe a chance of a shower or two on Sunday. And then for the first day of winter, we're actually fairly mild. Temperatures above average for this time of the year by Monday with highs in the mid 50s. That's a quick look at your forecast.
I'm just laughing at Vanessa Brannon's comment. She said,
Me too.
Y'all better be careful in them heels. And you're right. That's why I wear boots to work, and then I switch out. And actually, in between like shots, I switch in and out of my flats. So like on the times you can't see my feet, I'm like in my flats, and when you can, then I'm in my heels. So it's not a 24-hour thing.
Oh yeah, I responded to her too. You know, the heels come on for the show only. Got the boots at my desk. I got the tennis shoes and socks that I put on, and then, you know, I have to put the heels back on for the new newscast. But other than that, it's all about comfort around here.
Listen, I even have a chair that we slide over and I sit down in between.
Stool.
So there are definitely ways to get around the constant standing. Yeah, so we definitely do that.
Make it work.
All right, so we have a big story that we are staying on top of this morning.
Yeah, the close eye on the roads that we've been staying on top of because of those near freezing temperatures. You know, obviously we want to make sure that you are heading to work safely today.
There are slick spots, of course, potentially icy in some cases. So let's get a check of the conditions out there with ITN's McMiller live in Greensboro, preparing you for your ride into work.
Well, I'm on the bridge at the Gallimore Dairy. I'm on the bridge at Gallimore Dairy Road, where lots of folks are getting out on these wet roads to start their morning commute. You can actually see on this bridge, it's most definitely wet. There's even some puddles out here. So you want to make sure that you are being cautious this morning, because we've of course got the fog. We've got these wet bridges, as you can see, and then you mix that with these cold temperatures. There is definitely a potential for some black ice out here on these roads. So you want to make sure that you are being cautious and taking your time as you head out on your morning commute. Now, I did make some calls. There is good news. There have not been any real issues as far as weather-related accidents this morning here in Greensboro and Guilford County. So that's the good news there. But of course, as I said, it's cold out here. It's frigid temperatures. You can see my breath. It's cold. That means that these wet spots that we just showed you can easily turn into black ice. So you want to make sure that you're being cautious this morning and taking your time. We do not want to have any weather-related accidents this morning. But of course, we'll continue to keep you updated on any changes in the weather conditions throughout the rest of the day.
All right, so that's good information from ITN's there. That urge of caution, that warning there that, you know, it could happen. And that's kind of really what you guys have been echoing throughout the morning, especially Triad and Ed. You know, it could be icy, it could be slick. So just use caution and take it slow. Right, Ed?
Yeah, I'm glad that the temperatures didn't go any colder than what they did this morning. Most areas staying just above freezing, so that really helped out the situation. If we'd have dropped into the upper 20s, and we can say the same thing for yesterday. You know, if we dropped into the upper 20s, it would have been Winterfest throughout the Piedmont Triad, not only in downtown Greensboro. So lucky, but you know, still be careful this morning. Can't rule out, you know, just because the airport is 34 doesn't mean that some side street in a neighborhood is not 31 or 32. I mean, if I went around the building outside here and checked the temperature at 20 different locations, I'd probably get about 12 or 13 different readings. And that's just the way temperature works with the topography and so on and so forth. But be careful. But I am, you know, extra concerned about the fog as well. It's rather dense. We haven't had fog this widespread and this dense for a while, and it's going to be slow to improve.
All right, well, thank you for that update, Ed. And of course, while you should be cautious on the roads and watch out for ice, at least we're not seeing snow. And I'm not just talking about a little bit of snow, like 1 or 2 inches, 1 or 2 feet in the Northeast. They'll be digging out for a while, Stacy.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's just crazy to see all those videos and those pictures coming in on Twitter. Excuse me, that hashtag snowstorm 2020 still trending right now, and I want you to check out some of the videos and pictures I've seen so far. Check out this time lapse from the National Weather Service in Pittsburgh. It shows snow falling from 9 a.m. yesterday until 2:30 this morning. Guys, this is just incredible to see how much snow they've gotten, you know, just over one day, and it's almost 11 inches there so far. And I'm sure they're going to get even more. Hopefully you've seen that entire video. If not, it is on my Twitter page. And here's a glimpse of Times Square in Manhattan this morning. Really just looking like a ghost town. That was around, I think, 7:30. Or not 7:30, 6:30, I think. Not the prettiest snow on the roads out there. But it is a pretty sight to see with all the lights and everything. And check this out. Do you want to build a snowman, Tracy? I'm ready to hear you start singing. There you go. Okay. So this Twitter user making it a COVID Christmas and putting a mask on their snowman. I thought that was pretty funny. And look at this. That is a lot of snow. Brenda in Broome County, New York says they got 4 feet of it. I mean, how do you even get out of the house at that point? The most snow I've ever seen in my entire lifetime is 15 inches. That was in Roanoke, Virginia back in 2018. I can't even imagine seeing that much snow. Like, what do you do? What can you do?
Stay inside.
Yeah.
Is the answer.
Yeah.
I remember my first winter at the University of Connecticut. Winter, by the way, starts on Halloween in the Northeast. Yeah, so it was probably only 3 inches of snow, but I remember calling my mom and saying, I'm so unprepared. I didn't have like the right hat, the right gloves. I mean, it was so bad. And I thought 3 inches was like the end of the world. And then the next, month it snowed 8 inches. And I was like, it's getting worse, Mom. I want to go home. But she made me stay, and for good reason. So yeah, that's just kind of my little first snow memory there. But ever since that experience, have never been someone who loves snow. Just never have been that way. But
yeah.
Megan, you grew up in a snowy state.
I did, yeah. I'm from Missouri. I still don't care for snow, but we definitely got a lot more snow than we do here. I remember walking to classes in college in like a foot of snow. I fell on ice one time and got a minor concussion, and I remember my mom calling our sorority house mom to check in on me. That's how bad it was, but there it was just the norm. You went to class, except for in rare circumstances where, especially in college, the teachers would have to decide, okay, we're going to either do the lecture or we're not going to do the lecture. Of course, now I'm sure all that's different with this new normal of virtual learning, which is a whole nother discussion we had on the Good Morning Show today, whether there should still be snow days or whether there should be just remote learning days. But yeah, I mean, a lot of snow isn't anything unusual to me. I will say from the Midwest, a piece of advice is dressing properly for the snow and the cold weather can really make all the difference. I'm talking a big parka that covers your bum. I mean, it makes a difference. Hat, scarf, gloves, the whole 9 yards. Get a dress for it, and then I think it's bearable. Terrain Kirksey's laughing. From Alabama, you don't have a big parka, do you?
Yeah, I don't. I still don't. I think I have one big jacket now, finally. I don't have gloves yet. I don't have a scraper for my car. Anytime it snowed, I just use my hand, like bare hand, to try to move the snow out of the way. It's just a mess. One day I've never claimed to be the smartest person in the world. I don't have a lot of common sense. But one day I'll go ahead and get gloves and I'll be good to go. But I mean, you're exactly right. If you dress for the weather, it does make a difference, I'm sure. So you won't be freezing cold like me and with cold hands because you've been moving snow with your bare hands. So I learned that lesson in 2018, and it's 2 years later and I still haven't gotten gloves, but I'm working on it. I have a scarf now. I actually have 2. So there you go, progress.
Well, in your defense, Triad, it hasn't really snowed a great deal since 2018, so you get a pass. However, if you ever take up meteorology in the Northeast, I will make sure you have the proper attire, because you will need it.
I'm going to hold you to that.
You will need it.
It's hilarious. Turan said that he's not the smartest person in the world, but I would beg to differ. And in fact, Sheree addressed you as professor this morning, Turan. A testament to your weather knowledge.
Well, I appreciate that. I can read some books, but like I said, common sense ain't so common. And I'm working on it. It's one day I'll actually, do the thing that makes sense. So I'm working on it. But like Ed was saying, kind of about how, a couple of small snowfalls, that's fine, and I can deal with that too. What do you think, Ed?
I totally agree. I'm looking for my 1 inch of snow this winter, and that's all I want. But while we're talking about this, I was just kind of curious. What's the biggest snow that you guys have been in? I think the most I have seen, and I've been around since the dawn of time here in the Triad, I think the biggest snow that we've had is probably around 15 inches. And that was way too much. My dog didn't go out for a week or 2, but I'm sure Turan has seen very little, and maybe Megan has seen a whole lot, of course.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I have 2 working in the Northeast, which is again why I'm home. My first job at, I worked at a station in Springfield and then up to Boston and then down to Hartford. So I kind of did this like triangle in my initial career. And my first live shot in Hartford was the day of a snowstorm. It was actually my first day of work. The governor had just got on TV and declared a state of emergency. And they're like, hey, new girl. And I'm like, that's me. They're like, do you have your IFB, which is this piece that we wear in our ears, and so we can hear? And I'm like, yeah, of course. They're like, we need you to go and do a live shot. I'm like, yeah, okay, let's do it. And I was unprepared, right? So I didn't have on the right shoes or the right, I was cute. It was first day of work stuff, right? So I go out and they took forever to get to me. It was like live shot after live shot after live shot, and they still didn't come to me. And then finally they come to me, and I had been like so frozen stiff the whole time that like,
oh no,
they're like, Tracy, you know, how's it out there? And I'm like, you know, conditions are, and I scrape my foot like this just to kind of see, and then zoop, I fell.
Oh no!
Zoop.
I've never heard this story.
And then all of a sudden, like the anchors were like up on their desk. They're like, is she okay? And I'm like, oh my goodness. And then the photographer who I had, which was still my favorite photographer in the whole world, pans down on me. And I'm just on the ground like, hi, it's Flick. Don't go out here unless you can, you know. It was horrible. And then I think I left like 90 days later.
Oh no! Talk about demonstrating the conditions. That is wild.
Yeah, I was like, I gotta go home.
Oh, man. All right, well, on that note, what do you say we take a look at some of our headlines before we get a final check of our forecast here? We'll talk about a few COVID-19 related vaccine updates. Shipments of the COVID Pfizer vaccine are expected to arrive at Cone Health and Novant Health today. That's a big deal. Novant Health recently received additional freezers to store this vaccine. Cone Health is anticipating about 5,500 doses in this first shipment. As long as the vaccines arrive on schedule, both hospital systems plan to start vaccinating frontline healthcare workers tomorrow. Meanwhile, the FDA meets today to discuss the Moderna coronavirus vaccine. If approved, 6 million doses will ship to 3,200 locations across the country. This is the vaccine that also requires 2 doses 28 days apart. But unlike the Pfizer vaccine, Moderna's does not need to be stored in ultra-cold freezers. They can be kept in regular medical refrigerators. We can expect to hear more about the vaccine rollout in today's update from the COVID task force. North Carolina health leaders are set to give an update at 2:30. With just a week to go until Christmas Eve, they will no doubt issue another warning about avoiding large gatherings for the holidays. You can watch today's update on WFMYnews2.com this afternoon.
All righty, the fog situation I think is going to be very slow to improve. And once it does, I still don't expect much in the way of sunshine today. We'll call it variably cloudy, some peaks of sun, but the clouds are going to hang tough. We've got one little upper level disturbance that will swing through the area late today through the early evening. Starved for moisture, fast mover, so many of us will not see any rain at all, but we couldn't rule out an isolated shower. Chilly mid-40s today, and when the sky tries to clear tonight, we're going to see fog redevelop. So we'll likely have to deal with some fog on Friday morning. Otherwise, Friday looks like a sunny day. Still cold, though, with mid-40s, and I think overall the weekend's looking pretty good. Sun and clouds, upper 40s on Saturday, low 50s on Sunday. Looking at the new model data, might be going overboard, even with a 30% rain chance, but we'll continue to track that. Let's do our best to keep it dry for the weekend. And it looks dry for the first several days of winter, which begins on Monday with a nice 53. And what do you say it gets a little nicer a few days before Christmas? Mid and upper 50s by Tuesday and Wednesday. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if looking at the new stuff this morning, new data, we could get pretty close to 60 by Wednesday.
So I'm going to turn to my sarcastic friend here, Taran. I was trying to find the right words. So is it irony that we're going to be warm on our first day of winter next week, or is it more like fate, destiny? Is it, you know, what word would you use? Because I don't know if irony is the right word. I think it's more like unbelievable.
Yeah. I think a lot of times you think about the beginning of a season as, you know, kind of being associated with whatever that season is about. You know, in the summer, the first day of summer, you think of being hot, and, you know, the first day of winter, you think of being cold. But, you know, this time, you know, I think we've earned the right to have a decently warm start to winter. But as we've seen before, it really doesn't matter how you start. We'll see what happens. It's all about how you finish, right? So we'll see what the rest of winter has in store for us. But first day of winter, looking good.
Yeah, and Stacy, I just realized we were so engrossed in our own storytelling and conversations. We neglected to share some of the comments here on our feed. Some folks I noticed are weighing in on their own snow memories. Yes. Some people commenting that they have relatives up north dealing with all this. Any comments you want to share really quickly before we go?
Nadine actually shared something pretty funny. She said, when I lived in New York, one year we had almost 3 feet. We were out of school for a week. That's a long time to be out of school. Let me see. Joe said something also funny. She said, I think I brought the snow with me when I moved down here from Maine in 2018 because that was the year that we got the big snow here. So Joe, sounds like it's your fault. Just kidding.
I don't know. Does Joe taking that? We'll see. All right. Well, that's going to take us to the close of our After GMS program today. So fun hanging with you. We didn't get to our other conversation about Christmas songs, but we will get to that probably tomorrow. So make sure you think of your favorite, or at this point, your least favorite, because that list is just as long.
Oh, yeah. All right. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Stay safe. Get out there and get to it. We'll see you back here tomorrow.